The number is still saved. The conversation is still there. Not because there's communication, but because there wasn't the courage to delete it. You don't erase what, in some way, still beats, even if it's silent, even if it's distant. You don't write, you don't call, but you hold on, as if it were dangerous to forget. It's not a lack of time, nor of memory. It's fear. It's that feeling that if you touch it, everything will come back, including what never truly started. The name remains on the list, silenced, still, but accessible, at the whim of a decision. Yet the decision isn't made. It stays there, waiting for courage that never arrives, making up excuses to avoid facing what you feel, and running away, deep down, from everything that was seen too soon, because there are those who see beyond the surface, and that is frightening. There's fear of opening the conversation, because you know you won't be able to pretend, and keeping control matters more than living what you want, so you avoid it. But don't let it go. Now and then you look at the photo, you reread the last message, you feel the temptation to say something, but your hand won't move because your mind locks up, because your heart threatens too much. There's a contact there, saved with the name of someone who made you feel what you don't know how to handle, someone who saw too much, someone who noticed even without hearing a word. You don't disappear, but you also don't show up. The number is there, because deleting it would mean losing, and losing would mean admitting you wanted it. So it stays as a reminder, as a frozen opportunity, as an active absence. If this has ever happened to you, comment, "I needed to hear this." The number is there, staying still, like someone who's not in a rush but also doesn't forget. You don't delete what still throbs even in silence. You don't remove what, even without use, represents something unresolved. It remains saved. Why? For emotional security, for longing, for pride, maybe for everything at once, or for nothing that can be explained. You don't respond. But you also don't close the chapter. You don't call, but don't disappear either. The call never happens, and the message never comes, but the name remains there, as if it's kept for a day, for a right moment that may never exist, for an impulse that may never arrive. It's strange to realize this, to know that you're present, but closed off, to know you live in someone's contact list, and at the same time you're out of everything. You feel this, don't you? As if you exist in the almost, as if you are a suspended memory, a preserved recollection, an unacknowledged desire, as if you're too important to be forgotten, but too complicated to be lived. The realization comes, clear, restless, real. You have been perceived, yes, seen beyond the surface, noticed in the details, in the care, in what isn't forced. And maybe, because of that, you've been set aside. Because when you see too much, it's frightening. Because when you touch what was locked away, the body reacts, and whoever isn't ready runs away. You don't run from those who are ordinary. You run from those who penetrate, from those who leave a mark, from those who don't force their presence but simply stay. So you hold back. But you don't live. You keep the number, but you don't dial it. You protect the bond, but you don't allow the connection. It's like keeping a door locked, knowing that the key is right there, but never turning it. And why not? Because it's easier not to deal. Because touching that space means shattering delicate certainties. Because reliving what you've stirred up requires more courage than you possess. It's more comfortable to leave your name there, as if it were a silent reminder of what was, or what could have been, or what still hurts without a name. And you realize this, even if you don't want to admit it, even if you insist on believing it's carelessness, distraction, indifference. But it's not. You feel that you still reside there, not in the now, but in a hidden place, between a lack of courage and an abundance of feeling. There are nights when that conversation is open. Yes, you still look. There are messages that have been reread so many times they're almost tattoos. There are commas that linger, waiting for a continuation that never came. You were left in the middle of a sentence, but never at the end. And that's the part that hurts the most. It's not the silence, it's the almost. It's knowing that it could have happened, but you didn't allow it, because there was no courage, because fear won. Fear that everything you felt might be too real, and when it's too real, you lose control. So instead of surrendering, you close yourself off. Instead of living, you calculate. Instead of owning it, you file it away. And you, in this whole process, stay, like a denied presence, like a name that bothers you on the screen, like a memory that won't let you have peace. You are available, just a phone call away, but inaccessible due to the emotional cowardice of someone who didn't know how to find you with honesty. You weren't ignored. You were feared. And being feared for being genuine is one of the most solitary pains that exist, because you didn't beg for anything. You didn't force anything. You simply were yourself, and that was too much. You crossed the line. And there are those who cannot handle being crossed. There are those who cannot bear to see themselves in the reflection you created. There are those who feel too intensely and don't know how to cope with it. So they prefer to freeze you, to keep you as a safety item, like an emotional plan that will never be executed, just to know that they still can, even knowing it will never happen. Have you lived this? Have you been in the middle of a bridge that no one crossed? Have you been a silent choice without being admitted? If this touched you, comment, "I needed to hear this." It's cruel to be a living memory in someone's life who doesn't allow you to truly exist. Cruel and confusing, because you are kept there, but not truly lived. You are accessible, but ignored. You are important, but not acknowledged. If it were indifference, you would have been erased. If it were lightness, you would have become the past. But it's not. You've become a space too sacred to be excluded, but too dangerous to be inhabited. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to perceive everything. It's exhausting to feel for two. It's exhausting to have to pretend that it doesn't hurt, because it hurts. It hurts to see your name linger in a place where you aren't called. It hurts to be both present and absent at the same time. It hurts to give silently to those who only want you as a possibility. But you carry on. Inside, you're still going, trying to understand where something was lost that was never fully experienced. The truth is, deep down, those who keep you close know. They know what you represented. They know what still beats within. They know what was avoided, but they don't want to admit it, because admitting it would mean opening a path that requires surrender, and not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone can handle being emotionally stripped bare. Some prefer to keep you as a contact, a saved number, a stored feeling, for a future that never arrives, for a courage that never comes. But you showed up. You tried. You were there. You noticed everything. And maybe now it's time to realize the hardest truth: the absence of choice is already a choice. You deserve more than a frozen space in someone else's memory. You deserve to be fully lived, whole, present, called upon. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever seen someone keep you close, but just far enough away not to touch you? Finish this sentence. To be seen and not lived is, and there's more you need to realize. Because it's not just about what was done, it's about what was denied, about everything that could have happened but got stuck in the midst of an unmade choice. Those who keep your number and don't call aren't just waiting for the right moment. They're avoiding the real moment, because the real demands presence, surrender, vulnerability. And not everyone can handle what you awaken when you show up fully. You don't beg for attention, but you won't stand for any more crumbs of presence, because you've already realized that it's not absence that hurts the most. It's that hesitation that keeps you in an emotional limbo. Have you ever wondered why you still feel? Even without a response, without a gesture, without acknowledgement? It's because something remains unresolved, something that got stuck in the air, between what was silenced and what was too hard to say, something that still resonates, even if the other pretends not to feel it, even if it hides behind the excuse of time, chaos, or phases. But you know, deep down you've always known. You don't keep a contact by chance. You don't start an old conversation without writing anything out of curiosity. You don't hold on to a name, a face, a memory, out of courtesy. There's something there. Something that bothers, that pulses, that scares, but it doesn't depend on you. You've already done what you could. You've already shown it. You've already revealed yourself. You've already been whole, and now there's silence left, but not just any silence. It's a silence that carries questions. It has weight, scent, temperature. A silence that makes it clear. You haven't been forgotten. You just haven't been embraced as you deserved, and that's no small thing. You were noticed, yes. Noticed too much, perhaps. And maybe that's why they don't call you. Because to deal with someone like you, it takes a willingness to tear up the superficial script. It requires a commitment to the truth, and not everyone wants that. Some prefer to keep you in an invisible folder of memory, the one we open when we're alone, when the night creeps in. When longing tightens but pride speaks louder, there you exist without knowing, without answers, but you exist. Have you noticed this? Have you felt that your worth is recognized, but ignored out of fear? If so, write, I see all of this. Leave that phrase down below. Maybe writing is the beginning of your emotional liberation, because one thing needs to be clear. You are not being forgotten. You are being avoided, and those who avoid are scared. Scared of what you represent, scared of how you break defenses without needing to force, scared of what you could transform, scared of losing control. But that's not your fault. You don't need to diminish what you feel to fit into what the other can handle. Don't shrink to be accepted. Don't hide to deserve presence. You weren't born to live with loose ends, to have unfinished conversations, to have saved contacts that never see a call. You are a meeting, not a draft. You are truth, not a hypothesis. You are a whole presence, not an emotional emergency plan. And if today the contact is saved, but the call never comes, then the choice has already been made. Those who truly wanted to be there showed up. Those who really felt it didn't hesitate. Those who recognized you completely didn't delay. And if they are delaying, it's because they're not ready for you. But you are ready. And this readiness is also an answer. You are ready to stop waiting. Ready to get off the emotional shelf where you've been placed. Ready to realize that being kept almost close is a cruel way to keep someone far away. Yes, you were important. Yes, you shook things up. But it's not enough to be important. It's not enough to shake things up. You need to be lived. And if it's not meant to be lived, then let it be nothing. You deserve space, a space where you belong. Where you don't have to beg for presence nor decipher silences. Where your name isn't just saved, it's called. It's invited. It's answered. Have you ever noticed how unfair it is to always be on the edge of things? The edge of affection, the edge of return, the edge of meeting. It's exhausting. It tires the heart, and it dulls the soul. Maybe it's time to allow yourself to step out of that weight, to leave that place where you are kept as a memory, but never a priority. You are not a memory. You are a path, and only those who lack the courage to walk remain stuck in memory. You don't need to ask anymore if the call will come, because deep down you already know it won't. Not for lack of feelings, but for lack of courage. And if it's to live at the mercy of others' fears, then it's better to move on. Because there are people who see you, but they still don't have the emotional maturity to choose you, and you need to start choosing yourself. Today. Now. Does this make sense to you so far? Write "no more waiting" if you felt this shift within you. Because now it's no longer about the other. It's about you. About what you miss out on every time you wait for someone who doesn't have the courage to look you in the eyes. About what you postpone when you settle into the memory of a almost. About all that you stifle when you accept being kept in the silence of a saved number, but never called. You need to realize it's not the absence of the call that hurts. It's the fact that you remain there knowing this and yet waiting. Waiting for that person to wake up one day. Waiting for, out of nowhere, the acknowledgement, the message, the phrase that returns what you feel you lost. But what exactly did you lose? If it was love, but it never became whole. If it was presence, it was always hesitant. If it was reciprocity, it never manifested with courage. And still you cling on, because something unsaid lingers, because something in you can't let go. But I'll tell you something tough, and perhaps liberating. If it still keeps you there, it's because you still feel. But if they don't call you, it's because they feel fear. And between feeling and acting, there's a line that separates those who are willing from those who just feel. You no longer need to be a suspended feeling in anyone's life. You've spent too much time wondering if you were important. Now you need to start asking yourself, why do I continue accepting so little? Because what you have with that person, whatever it is not a bond. It's emotional captivity. You've become an emotional reserve, a reminder of something too strong to be erased, but too difficult to be acknowledged. And that's not fair to you, because you still respond, you still think, you still feel, you still open that old conversation, check the last time it was seen and ask yourself, will they reach out? You still pay attention to the slightest signals, a status, an old like, a story viewed, and turn all of that into hope. But you shouldn't, because those who truly want to show up, those who truly feel will reach out, those who really notice, act. You've become a story without an ending, but a story that only continues if you insist on it alone. And there's something more serious in all of this. This waiting is slowly killing you, not on the outside but on the inside. You're losing your spark, you're shutting down, you're doubting yourself. Because every time your phone vibrates and it's not that person, you sink a little deeper into the frustration of waiting for something from someone who has already given you all the answers, in silence. And maybe you need to realize this now. Silence isn't a lack of response. It's the most cruel response there is, because it leaves everything open, but it paralyzes. It keeps you there, neither leaving nor staying. And what binds you is not love, it's the lack of closure. That's why you can't move on, because you don't know if it's over, because there was never a final sentence, because no one had the courage to say, I don't want this anymore. But let me tell you clearly, if they wanted to, they would have come by now. Don't have any doubts about that. Don't wait any longer. Don't allow yourself to be a partial part of anyone's life, especially when you were born to be a whole presence. You are not just someone who passed through. You are someone who stayed, even when you should have already left. But maybe now is the time to delete the contact, to end the conversation, to accept what you didn't want to accept. Because when someone keeps you in their life but doesn't truly embrace you, that says it all. Does that make sense to you so far? Comment, I don't want to be partial anymore, if this truth struck you. If this resonated with you, comment, leave your like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.